Happy Thursday night, everybody, or maybe a sad Thursday night. Welcome into 104.3 The Fans Halftime Chill, presented by Coors Light. Jake Shapiro, James Marilat, although Jake Shapiro is sleeping to start the show. I'm Will Peterson. Guys, it's 6-3 Broncos at half, but feels like we've seen this movie before. Just another brutal game to watch in primetime. James, I'm sensing a good James Marilat rant, so I don't want to put you on the spot. But just go ahead and tell us what we just watched the last hour and a half.
Well, here's what's most fascinating about it, Will. Okay, let me just ask you guys this question. What word would you use to describe the Colts offense in that half?
Anemic. You're muted, Jake.
Sorry, non-existent.
Okay, well, the Colts, 9 first downs. The Broncos, 7. The Colts, 144 yards of offense. The Broncos, 103. The Colts were awful, dreadful, laughable, ridiculous. Frank Reich should be fired type of an offense, right? Matt Ryan is the worst quarterback in the league, and they were better than Denver. I mean, guys, this is absurd what we're watching, and it's a combination of everything. The Broncos can't run the ball at all, particularly when they try to go right. Graham Glasgow and Cam Fleming are ridiculous. They don't block anybody. Russell Wilson gets very little help. Jerry Jeudy makes no effort at footballs. If he's not wide open, he just doesn't try to do anything. And then Russell Wilson misses open guys. I mean, it's Teddy Bridgewater 2.0 when you've got KJ Hamler open on 3rd and 9 and you throw it short of the sticks to Eric Saubert. Look, the defense has been great. How much of that is Ejiro Evero's group and how much of that is Matt Ryan in this offense? But my gosh, guys, it's the same problems week after week after week after week. This is a poorly coached football team on the offensive side and overall. And what we just witnessed there at the end of the half, where you get the ball and they take the penalty and make them re-kick it so you can take another shot at it, it's not going to also go into the end zone at altitude. And then Montrell Washington fumbles the ball. Fortunately, the Broncos recovered it. It's just the epitome of it. I mean, maybe they can hire another coach who can tell them what to do in these situations, because Lord knows the 31 coaches they have can't figure it out. It's absurd. It's beyond belief. It's embarrassing. It's another national TV debacle for the Broncos.
Yeah, James, you said on Twitter, same story, different day. There's not really much to add to that. Mark Schlereth has just tweeted a bunch of poop emojis. Yeah, so that's where we're at. And, I think you're spot on in saying it's not just that the Broncos offense has looked bad and the coaching is poor. It comes across in the false starts. It comes across in getting the plays in late. We're 5 weeks into this thing, and I give it a little grace because of the short week this week, but it hasn't gotten any better in any of these 5 weeks. And I just don't understand what Jerry Jeudy even is at this point, because he's a great route runner, we hear. He's some sort of great wide receiver, athletic demon. He's not catching long balls. He's not a possession receiver. What is Jerry Jeudy?
Yeah, let's talk more about that. James, their two biggest chances in the first half. Jeudy very early on, 3rd and 14, ball over the middle in the end zone, can't make the play. And then the deep shot to Jeudy down the left side, safety breaks it up. Rather than go and get the football, Judy's just looking for a flag. I mean, what is he at this point? And are those two plays kind of the epitome of Jerry Jeudy's 2.5 years thus far in Denver?
Yeah, and look, the throw into the end zone, Will, if we're just being fair, that's a miraculous catch if you make it, right? But every great receiver in the league makes an attempt at it.
Right.
Most of them snag the ball and we're waiting on pins and needles for the replay. And, did he get his feet in or not? I was out by that much. Nothing. Just lets the ball fly over his head like he was afraid he was going to run into the post like it's 1952 and Johnny Unitas is throwing the ball to Raymond Berry. It's just no effort at all. And then the second one, Russell Wilson didn't throw a very good pass there. I mean, Jerry Jeudy's wide open. Why he leads him so far down the field and lets the safety have a chance to come over there? Just throw it short and make Jerry Jeudy stop for it and take the 30 yards. Not a great throw by Russell Wilson, but make an effort. Go up for it. Force the issue there and force the contact. There was a little contact anyway, and I think if he goes up and sells it a bit, he probably gets a flag.
Right.
just no effort at all. Just a total lack of caring. And I've been saying this, guys, for a couple of weeks. And Will, you wrote a column about it. Of this team is basically Cortland Sutton on offense and no one else. I mean, it's a group that doesn't have a lot of talent. There just isn't. And then what is there is not utilized very well. You can't tell me that Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler, Alberto, Melvin Gordon couldn't be slightly better utilized than they are on this group, even though I don't think any of them are Pro Bowl caliber players by any means. Oh my gosh, it's a confluence of, it's a glacier and molasses meeting, and that's what we get with this offense.
And it's funny because we're talking about a lot of the process stuff, but let's just play the results for a second. If I told you before the start of the season that 9 halves of football into the season, the Broncos would have 6 touchdowns, what are our thoughts? Like, I mean, it's unbelievable, right?
Crazy. Yeah.
No, it's completely unbelievable. I mean, you're 9 halves of football. That's 6 in 18 quarters. I mean,
6.
1 touchdown every 3 quarters is pretty ridiculous. Here's the other issue, guys. Like, it becomes almost tough to describe what you're watching because it's not one thing. It's not, hey, they just, like, if I'm an Indianapolis fan, or if I'm covering that team, you can look at it and say, all right, well, they don't have their top 2 running backs. Number 79 gets called for a penalty every 3rd play, and Matt Ryan doesn't get rid of the football. Okay, you can at least start to dissect the problem, right? Like, where do you begin with this Broncos team? There's so many things on offense. We could spend an hour just making a laundry list, and then another 2 hours trying to rank, well, what should be higher than the next problem in the list of 50 things. It is so much. But if you want to focus on a positive, I think that there's one. Last week appears to be the aberration with this defense. So this is now in 5 games, 4, where Ejiro Evero's defense, at least for a half of each game, has been terrific. They were really good. They can't get a bounce on fumbles. But other than that, this group was really, really good in the first half.
Yeah, Jake, let's talk more about that defense. James mentioned it, the 2 fumbles, Pat Surtain with the brilliant strip, and it just rolls right to a Colts wide receiver with 2 Broncos there. And then Josie Jewell gets in there on the sack after literally body slamming a guy. And Matt Ryan gets tackled on top of a defender and fumbles the ball too. That would have been a great time for a scoop and score. I mean, I know the offense is the story and it's anemic and it's awful, but Jake, this looks like, I don't know if I'll say Super Bowl caliber defense, but at least a defense that can drag this team to a competitive over 500 record at this point.
Yeah, a big play by Caden Stearns. Like, the defense is coming through with big plays. We're everything on the defense from the Broncos standpoint, except from legitimately just taking balls to the house. Like, this is a great defense. We actually had Derek Wolf on Coffee Break, which you can watch 10:30 every single day earlier on this week. And he was like, no, this defense is nothing like our Super Bowl championship defense. And then we kept kind of badgering him. And he's like, you know what? I think Justin Simmons would probably start. I think Pat Surtain would start. You know, Draymond can be a dude. Baron Browning's a dude. These guys are dudes. Like, these guys are legit football players. They're keeping the Broncos in the game. It sucks, and it must be so frustrating as a defender. You're doing all of this work, and you can't get away from a team that is clearly not good. I'm going to just push this out there to James. This game seems like it could come down to a Brandon McManus field goal attempt, which is not a good thing. And that's kind of how it's shaping up.
No, you're right. And look, this game shouldn't even be close at this point. This game should be 21-3 at halftime. We should be laughing about how bad the Colts are. We should be talking about how, you know what, Frank Reich seems like a pretty nice guy, but they pinned last year's collapse on Carson Wentz. He's going to be the first coach fired this year because there's no one else to blame. Like, that should be the talking points. The fact that this is even a football game and is even competitive is absurd. And there are 5,000 no-shows announced there tonight. Our own Andrew Mason, who's in the building, says, guys, it's more like 10,000. And the overhead view, there was more orange in Vegas last week. Like, that crowd looks pretty, sparse isn't the right word, but it's not your normal week 5 crowd. They're sending a message. And Nathaniel Hackett, if they find a way to lose this game, as bad as the Colts are, because, guys, they're laughably bad. Like they're a national punchline, and they actually had a better offensive first half than the Broncos. If the Broncos lose this game, Nathaniel Hackett in a long week here with the mini bye, crazier things have happened. He is on an unbelievably hot seat after 5 games. That's how absurd the level of football is that we're watching.
Wow. Okay, well, we'll stash that in our pocket. Jake, go ahead real fast.
2 quick notes. Colts will actually have a better record than the Broncos if they somehow pull this out because of that tie. Second thing to watch out is Jossie Jewell and Ronald Darby, both questionable return. So we're talking about this defense, and we're seeing more and more injuries pile up there as well.
Yeah, Darby got hurt at the very end of the half. Jewell must have as well because he was in on the sack. All right, James, we got to talk about the running backs. I know the offensive have been terrible, but Phillip Lindsay looks like one of the better offensive players on the field tonight. And then Melvin Gordon, man, he fumbled again. He was down by about 1/10 of a second, but he did indeed fumble again. Your takes on Lindsay looking pretty good. And then Gordon, he started the game, the 2-hand thing. Well, he's back to 1 now, and we did see a ball get punched out again. His knee was down by that much.
Yeah, look, at this point in his career, and I know they can show the Tiki Barber stats all they want, you're not going to learn something new. He's been carrying the ball like that in high school at Wisconsin, throughout his NFL career at this point. You can practice it all you want for 4 days. When you get back into the game, you're going to play like you've always played. Shocking. I mean, honestly, and we shouldn't be shocked given what's happened, but that he put the ball on the ground. It won't officially go down as a fumble because the play, he was down and they ended up taking the penalty, so the play never happened. But we all saw it happen. He put the ball on the ground again. Denver just can't run the ball, guys. Melvin Gordon, 7 carries, 12 yards. Mike Boone, 1 for 3. 8 carries, 15 yards. So outside of Russell Wilson's 3 for 23, they cannot run the football. And given the fact that they have a fairly pedestrian cast of wide receivers, if you can't run the ball, it's a little bit mission impossible. So, Phillip looked fine. I mean, once again, we're being Little League mom keeping the scorebook. Like, he looked fine. But in this game, he looks like
I was going to say, but he was the best one there.
What's that?
He was the best offensive player on the field in the first half, I thought. Low bar, but he was.
Yeah, okay. Sure.
He's 5.7. I mean, he's 5.7 per carry behind a terrible offensive line.
That's not bad.
I mean, yes, somebody had to be the best offensive player in maybe the worst offensive half of football in the NFL. Great. Phillip Lindsay, come on down and get your trophy.
For a 6-3 game, we certainly had a lot to talk about. These things always fly by. James Marilat, Jake Shapiro, we appreciate you tuning in. I'm Will Peterson. We'll see you next time on 104.3 The Fans Halftime Chill, presented by Coors Light.